We are back at Museum in Lotus. What episode is this tonight?
This is the 50th
50th,
episode, and it's not a coincidence.
It's so many topics to talk about, and today we have a special friend other than Mr. Giuseppe yourself. We know him. We are in Museum in Lotus. We're going to talk about collections that are by Master Yun, not for sale. But from there, if we can manage to delve into them deeper, we might just be able to understand Master Yun's art world even better. So on this 50th episode, which Mr. Pino, you just mentioned is a coincidence or not a coincidence.
Not a
Is it a
coincidence.
coincidence? I don't know. Why? Why do you say so?
I mean, let's not forget that on the 30th of October, when it was Master Yun's 50th birthday.
It was Master Yun, it was just Master Yun's 50th birthday. And actually, you know, the whole Chimes event has to do with Master Yun's birthday as well.
Yes.
So on this special episode, two of us, not enough. So we got a friend who came from Penang, Mr. Gibson. We are familiar with Gibson for sure. So there we have with us, Mr. Gibson.
Yeah, hi.
And since we are about like 50th, I think we are going to go on to about like 54 episodes plus minus. So for this various episode, from this episode onwards, actually even before we went to Chimes, we are really showing the mega things in this museum in Lotus. Am I right?
Absolutely right. And tonight there are a number of pieces, very interesting Japanese pieces. And we will present those pieces, and we hope you enjoy as much as we have in selecting them out of Master Yun's larger collection.
And since it's the Japan, as you mentioned, I also shared, so like and share. I already shared, I said that today I'm going to fly to Japan with Mr. Pino and Gibson. That's why today I'm not in full tux, but I'm something else. This is also Japan actually, right? What I'm
It's a
wearing,
wonderful garment, okay? What I would like to highlight, few things to start with.
Okay. So I am the first piece to be talked about today. Yeah?
Absolutely,
Yeah, okay,
absolutely. And this is the mon, which identifies the family. And actually we have two mons in front and three mons, again, family crest in the back.
Oh yeah, I see.
What
I see
is
that. Yeah.
absolutely spectacular, this is crepe de chine, the best possible kind of silk that was made in Japan. But what is even more interesting and intriguing are the cranes which have been depicted at the bottom of this kimono.
So there we have.
Look at the quality of the crane. Look at the design.
Look at it.
Look at the crest, a red crest, beautiful plumage. We have embroidery around it. And again, this will reference the square that we see to the biu, which I would basically mention to you later.
Right. So we're flying to Japan, and the question is that why are we flying to Japan? I mean, we just had the Chimes exhibition. That's wonderful. You were there.
I was.
Which part do you like the best?
Can I say it's very difficult to pinpoint to one or many? Actually, when the lights went off,
That moment.
and then we could see the painting of Master Yun, I thought that that was a spectacular moment. And it was not anymore about the fashion show. It was not anymore about the atmosphere. It was about the essence of the art coming alive in the dark and making us mesmerizing about beauty.
Absolutely. So since you're talking about the art, because we are coming here right after Chimes exhibition, right after Master Yun's 50th birthday, for this 50th episode, that's why we have Gibson on board with us today, because if you know well that Gibson actually is the host for the Art Beyond Museum Penang series, so other than me, Gibson will be quite the expert about Master Yun's art as well. Let's talk about Master Yun's art first.
Yes.
And then we'll explain why we are flying to Japan today. I should have brought sushi. You see, I was too busy. I didn't buy sushi for today. Yeah, because we have something that's got to do with sushi as well, right?
We actually have.
Yes. The sushi thing has nothing much to do with Master Yun's art, but I have specifically placed two paintings behind Mr. Pino and Mr. Gibson.
Yeah.
Shall we take a look at these two paintings first? If we are familiar, they belong to the series that is called Greetings to Heavens and Enrichment of Earth, the one that is of cranes. You see cranes. Once again, just like my gown, it has cranes.
Yes.
I want to ask Mr. Pino first, because Mr. Pino is in Singapore what we call Ang Mo, so his culture is different from us. When you look at Master Yun's art, what does it remind you? What kind of influence do you think it has?
I have to say one thing, that having lived in Asia for over 25 years, I have in some way absorbed the wonderful, rich culture. And for instance, when I think and when I look at the symbolism, and in particular what you are wearing and the bottom and the cranes, and I see those cranes repeated in Master Yun's art, I feel inspired. And we don't have the same kind of inspiration when we refer to the crane. The crane fly 1,000 years towards the sun, and that reiterates longevity.
Right.
The beauty about the cranes is not only about the elegance. Look how elegant is the design that Mr. Khan is wearing. And I've just noticed that that particular kimono is even signed by the artist. Extremely refined work. I think it's one of a kind in many, many ways in the rendition. Now, let me say, the concept of the cranes flying 1,000 years, where the male bird, usually bigger, would always go ahead of the female in order to protect her.
Right.
Open and block the wind in order that she can actually fly behind him. Let's not forget the beauty of the pairing of the cranes. When this happens, they will never separate. And therefore, this is a very strong symbol in marriages, the cranes.
I see.
And when they mate, they bow at each other in preparation of the chicks that will come thereafter and them racing. So there's so much intensity, beauty.
So there is connection between Master Yun's painting.
connection.
Let me ask Gibson, so are you aware of any connection of Master Yun's art and Japan?
Yes,
I mean,
Master Yun has been awarded 2 consecutive years by the Japanese chrysanthemum throne for the calligraphy. Yes.
Well, before we went to Chimes, actually, and then we actually have the photos about it, that what Gibson is talking about, that Master Yun's art, I mean, receiving a lot of awards internationally for sure. One of the recent ones is the one that actually was in Japan. So this is the one. This is the one that is this year in 2002 in Tokyo Metropolitan Art Museum. We talked about this, remember, Mr. Pino?
Yes, we have.
And we have the one that this is from the previous year. And this was the piece that was exhibited at Chimes as well. We showed it right before we went to Chimes. So actually we are continuing from before we went to Chimes. The topic of Japan is still with us. Let's take a look at the next one and see. Just for this to put the tag there, and if you can note closely, if you manage to see those are the Japanese words there. So be it we are saying that Master Yun's art influence from Japan actually, and also of course went to Japan to be exhibited. So my question to you, so now you see that Master Yun's art, is it a Chinese painting or is it a Japanese painting? How will you define it?
Before we starting the live show, I actually have a brief discussion with Mr. Pino. And I really agree with him. He said Master Yun Feng Shui painting is way beyond Feng Shui, way beyond everything because it represents the whole culture. Every culture.
So it's not that fair to actually frame him as the, oh, this is a purely Chinese thing, or this is a purely, you know.
And Master Yun Feng Shui art is all about celebrating. We celebrate life, we celebrate friendship, we celebrate everything. So that's why when you ask me the influence of Japan, I would say it's actually have all kind of influences inside.
Right.
The more you look into it, the more you find it, you know. It will give you different inspiration.
I suppose that's why also that when Master Yun's art go to different parts of the world, including Europe, everyone manages to take a leaf out of it. They might not understand the culture, they might not understand the words, because if you look at the painting, there are actually words. They might not understand the symbolism of crane sometimes, let's say in Spain or in Netherlands, but because they managed to take a leaf out of it, something was calling out to them from their own perspective, and it matches. So I think the same thing was happening in Japan as well. So that's why of so many calligraphers, he was the one who actually was one of the ones that actually got the award as well, because something spoke to them. We went to Japan many times in Museum Lotus, remember?
Yes, we have.
What did we talk about? Do you remember?
We've spoken about many things.
Oh, we talk a lot of Meiji stuff, yeah.
Meiji stuff, porcelain from that period, the tansus. We have spoken about the tea cabinet chest. So we have spoken about many things. Can I just mention something which I think ought to really be considered?
Right.
Real art, please quote me on this because I like to be quoted, is beyond any boundaries.
Right.
Real art. And let me say that I personally believe that Master Yun's art cannot be relegated to any country, either call it Singapore, China, it goes beyond, it flies high.
Definitely.
And that is the reason the Master Yun, but this is my take.
Because sometimes when we have categories, sometimes categories can be, it's easy to understand, Chinese, Italians, Japan, you know, that kind of stuff. But in the reality of history and world and cultures, it's hard to define. Absolutely, you just don't draw lines and put everything in the compartment box. In real life, a lot of things are happening at the same time. I mentioned to remind you that we talked about Japan many times because during those Museum in Lotus episode, we actually tracked how the cultures influence each other. Remember, we talked about it before.
Yes, we have.
That in Tang Dynasty, that Japan, every year they sent about 200 over monks to go there and learn from China. They brought back kanji, they brought back this, they brought back that, you know, that kind of thing. And after that, when China is evolving, and sometimes you want to look at where the original stuff of Chinese, sometimes you have to go all the way to Japan to find it. And then you influence China again. So the whole influencing each other, it's real, it happens in history, and it also happens in Master Yun's art as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Agreed.
That's why we say that it's feng shui
Yes.
art. We can't exactly say this is Singapore feng shui art or Chinese feng shui art. It just limits it too much, right? And I suppose that's why we managed to bring Master Yun's art to connect with different antique pieces from all over the world, from Nepal all the way to India and so on, and also like Gibson and I bring Master Yun's art to different places all around the world, and somehow still manage to find the connection.
Yes.
Yes.
We just haven't been to Italy yet. Right? Yeah. Today, but if you manage to see the video, that actually Master Yun's art was with the Eiffel Tower as well.
Yeah. In Paris.
Mr. Khan, it's just a matter of time.
Right.
It will have to go to Italy, and
Leaning Tower of Pisa.
and it has to go beyond that. It has to go beyond that. But you know, let's work at it, and I think the Italian will be able to appreciate.
100%.
100% will be able to appreciate.
We talk about many times. We have that great debate on whether spaghetti is actually from Italy. I mean, this is a blasphemy thing to say, but it might have been from Yuan Dynasty. Marco Polo brought it back, and then it became spaghetti. Yeah, who knew?
But you see, the beauty about it, when you talk, we both culture appreciated enormously, and life is about appreciation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Even until the Qing Dynasty, we know about that guy, Castiglione.
Castiglione.
Yeah, right. It's just
Castiglione.
sitting with you. Yeah.
Yes.
Lang Siling, the one who actually drew for the 3 emperors of Qing Dynasty. He's an Italian. He brought the Italian art into the Qing courts and drew. But the thing about drawing emperors is that you cannot draw the realistic school. You have to, you know, perfect a little bit here and there. But there were works that they found recently that Castiglione actually he secretly drew how the emperor actually looked like.
Right.
Yeah, so those are the results. So the cross of influence is there. We see that in the history, we see that in Master Yun's art as well. So today's art influencing Japan as well, going all over the place. We actually have 4 things, am I right? We have quite a lot of antiques today to talk about.
I think it makes sense to show a variety, but extremely beautiful Setsubin.
Setsubin.
Setsubin, it's actually the meaning of a tea kettle. Simple as that.
So this is actually a tea kettle. I mean, you mentioned, because we're going to talk about 4 to 5 items, not including this thing. This is mine. Yeah. I kind of feel that we have transported ourselves, along with Master Yun's art, into Japanese living room, that kind of thing. The bill you mentioned, and this thing probably will happen when we're having entertaining guests. you know, if we have that tea chest over here, this will fit perfectly there.
Perfectly. Extremely beautiful. It's cast iron. And the reason why it's cast iron, because it's believed that when the water boils, the flavor of the tea is enhanced. And let's not forget, sense of appreciation both for the Chinese and the Japanese tea and the tea ceremony.
Right.
This is a wonderful piece. It's cast iron, as I mentioned. It has the shape of a pumpkin, realistic, beautiful rendered. We look at the top, and when we look at the lid, you will be able to see that there is.
Do their teapots as well, you know. We talked about it before, right? 那个茶壶上有那个印章哈。
Collected.
So this is to boil water.
This is to boil water.
And then
collected.
So this is to boil water.
This is to boil water.
And then thereafter we will have the tea set thing. So they will, you know, to make hot the tea and so on. So this is definitely an art piece. What might be the age of this thing?
Oh, definitely. This is a Meiji period.
Oh, this is a Meiji. Yeah.
Without any doubt.
Let's ask. We know. Let's ask Gibson.
I don't know.
When is Meiji here?
1868.
It's a very auspicious number.
1912.
1912, right?
And it's definitely 19th century. It has not crossed to the 20th century. And the beauty about the lid is this piece.
Right. I mean, after 100 over years, this thing is still functioning so well. The workmanship is really something to be astonished about. And it's still functional today.
Mr. Khan, this was an object in its own right and its own merit of beautiful art pieces.
Right.
People would contemplate it, would touch it, would have the water boiled, and they would basically appreciate the tea.
Why would they use cast iron? Is there a particular purpose?
There's nothing better than water boiled and cast iron. There's nothing better.
Right.
Nothing. The flavor of the water is incredible. And let me tell you, all the tsetsubin, are all made in cast iron.
Right.
I have not encountered any which is made in another metal, if not copper. Sometimes I've seen them in copper, but those are the ones that you would have at home. You would use it. This would be for a tea ceremony. In that sense, it's very special. And for the 50th episode, something special had to be represented.
I see.
And this is a very special piece.
We are definitely being transported back to the living room of, or a guest room. I know, a place where they host guests in maybe even Meiji period today. If you combine what you see today and the rest of the Japanese antiques that you've seen before in Museum Lotus, for instance, the tanzis, you know, what else have we seen before? We've seen the plates.
The beautiful Meiji period plates,
Yeah.
extremely beautiful.
We have seen several hibachis. I think we have hibachis here today, a special one.
We also have seen a beautiful cake cutter.
Cake cutter. That was a bit later. It's more vintage.
Later, again, also extremely beautiful. And we've seen some obis.
Yes.
On the British beautiful long mahogany, Cuban mahogany table.
George III, yes.
George III, you are correct. There was a wonderful obi. Again, obi is the central sash that would be used both by gentlemen and ladies for their kimono attire.
I see.
And they are absolutely exquisite. Here we have a kimono tonight.
Right.
Just to touch, as we have touched briefly on the kimono Mr. Khan is wearing.
Right, we're going to talk about this kimono project after we take a tour around Japan. So this cast iron teapot, interesting, very exquisite. Something as simple as boiling water, they have actually made an art piece out of it. Their attention to details, their attention to refined living. It's quite like what Master Yin is doing, huh?
That's the analogy.
You went to his 50th birthday dinner.
I did.
At the restaurant.
I did.
Gibson couldn't go.
Yes.
COVID. Fortunately for us, unfortunately for him. Every single dish that night was actually quite amazing and stunning as well. Unbelievable, out of the world. some of the dishes can be simple, but the way they prepare it, nothing is left to mediocrity.
What was your favorite?
I want to ask you, what was your favorite dish?
Can I tell you? From the first to the 12th dish, I adored one after the other. The abalone, the shark fin soup. And I mean, everything was so exceptional and memorable.
If you had to choose one.
All of them, I'm sorry. I cannot be
okay,
partial.
if you could choose three then.
I cannot be partial to it, but I think the abalone was really quite exquisite, I thought. I loved enormously the soup. I would have eaten the soup next to me on both sides.
You mean the shark fin?
Shark fin, oh, that was so
Pity we didn't get his portion actually.
So delicious, so delicious.
Although I wasn't there, but my Facebook is full of it, the shark fin, because it's the best shark fin so far.
I tell you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely fantastic.
Those were my favorites as well, yeah.
But every dish was so spectacular, so beautiful. What a treat, what a treat. Who can ever forget a dinner of that quality and that refinement? So I cannot be partial to any dish. Everyone was absolutely fantastic.
For the many of you who didn't get a chance to actually go to the dinner, it's fine. But Master is still sharing his refinedness in living with you when you come to the gallery to appreciate his art and all the antiques. Not for sale, but from there you can understand his world of art better. So the teapot. What else after the teapot do we have?
Okay. I briefly mentioned when I commented about your kimono that the background has squares in
I can show them
gold.
Again. Yeah.
Can you see the background?
I mean, the cranes that we see, they definitely share the similarity with Master Yun's art. And this patch that you talked about.
Squares.
Right, intentionally that, you can see intentionally they created squares out of it. Why? Yes. Looks like a chessboard, but why?
Can I say this is something that the Japanese love it
a lot, effect,
a lot. And it's not only the Japanese, I mean, even the Tibetan, and we have spoken in the past about the Tibetan rugs. The squares in the Tibetan rug allow the people who sit on them and help them in the meditation process.
This geometry effect. Yeah, this geometry effect we are talking about crosses cultures as well. But this square thing, it's quite a Japanese thing, huh?
Very, very Japanese. Which brings me now to the biu-biu.
So this is called the biu-biu.
This is called the biu-biu. This is a separation, as you can see, between two rooms. Now, the biu-biu is something that was inspired by the Chinese to the Japanese. It was an inspiration.
Have you seen something like that in our episode before? But not exactly, this is solid. We saw a pair that was a bit more, if you remember, there was a bit more...
Japanese, again, very, very beautiful. Again, separation.
Yeah, with a more flowy kind of thing. Yeah, you can sort of see through.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So you call this biu-biu.
Biu-biu.
In Chinese, we call it...
Ping feng.
We call it ping feng. This is what we call it, ping feng. Yeah.
Interestingly, the Japanese learned from the Chinese and actually goes back to the 6th, 7th century when the Japanese got to know about the biu-biu or the Chinese dividers. Heavier, they needed something much lighter.
Right.
And therefore here the structure is extremely light.
Right.
With as I mentioned, a structure, which is a frame. On top of the frame, there are layers of paper. On the layers of paper, you would then have either a design transported and attached to these panels. This is a 6-panel biu-biu for a big room. Sometimes the artist would actually do the painting or the calligraphy. In this case, it's quintessential simplicity. It's again a repetition of silver squares, one on top of the other.
That's quite the matching with my kimono here, because you
Yes.
mentioned the squares.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at this angle, then you can see that on the bill, the silver paper, you can see the square effects as well. It's just like the squares that is on my gown.
Let's also say it, Mr. Ka, this is not something that we're taken out and just bring it to the audience. It has a logic, and the logic is coming out layer by layer.
True. Yes.
So what you're wearing and what we see is one of the same concept in different realizations.
So I got a question then. I always ask these questions when it comes to the antiques because they matter. Age. What is the age of this?
Meiji period again.
Also Meiji period.
Meiji period, extremely light. You will be able to see that on top, the frame that we have mentioned on which paper has been applied, it's basically black frame
Yes.
to contain, encapsulate the entire biu-biu.
I see.
Interestingly, not only the front had an importance as we have illustrated, but also the back.
The back as well.
The back.
The back.
And if we look at the back, we see a design. It's paper. It had to be extremely light. So again, it's paper.
So it's foldable, if you can see.
Yes.
6 panels, as Mr. Pino has mentioned. On this side, we see the reflective silver
Yes.
square effect. So I suppose that if you're sitting on this side and you do a meditation, you kind of have that
It has,
feel,
it
that
has.
effect thing going
Yes,
on, huh?
yes.
And you mentioned the other side, because if it's supposed to be a divider, both sides are supposed to look pretty.
Yes.
Because there might be people on both sides.
You're absolutely right.
And we have it on the other side. If I just sort of like close it, there you see it.
Now, let me tell you something about it. It's just the back. It still has a very important design. And the design is called Shippo. S-H-I-P-P-O.
S-H-I-W. Shippo.
Shippo.
Japanese, yeah.
Yeah.
And it means the 7 Buddhist treasures which contemplate gold,
I see.
silver, lapis lazuli, and garnet, cornelian,
Right.
all of this beautiful, beautiful.
All encompassed in this design. That means one
encompassed.
side we see the silver squares, on the other side we see these recurring and repeating symbols.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
There we see it, yeah. And we can definitely see that time has left its mark on the entire
Absolutely,
Ping Fong and then
absolutely.
Biu-Biu, which makes it more classic. We keep on talking about Meiji period because both of us are experts. Probably you need to educate or share with Mr. Gibson what's so important about the Meiji period and why the antiques from the Meiji period, they actually matter. Do you know what's going on in the Meiji period?
Just now it's mentioned it's early 19 something.
1868?
1912.
1912,
That
yeah.
is the
So
period.
it is.
But what's so significant about the Meiji period? That we have to define it into one period, and why all these treasures, they came from Meiji period, they all matter a lot. And for clients and for you, when you come over here and you realize, oh my God, this is Meiji, that would mean a whole lot of different things. For what its value and what the energy that it has. Am I right here?
I mean, this is the time where Japan started to open up. And imagine, Japan is an island and very closed in many, many ways. But that's when the emperor started to open up, industrialism started to kick in, and Japan started to acquire the strength, also economical strength,
Right.
and political strength.
Absolutely. So it was also during the Meiji period that this island country once was so weak that the Americans had to force their way in to open that up. By the end of the century, or by the start of the 20th century, they actually have already overtaken Russia. They have defeated Russia in wars, and so on. So it was about a period of about 50 years, plus minus.
I would say yes.
And it was the great leap forward for Japan. It's about how to reach prosperity and harmony in a short period of time. And Meiji period is the absolute period to talk about it. During the Chimes exhibition, we were talking about that Master Yun's art has been to 78 locations in a span of just 5 years. I mean, with or without the COVID, it will be quite impossible for even a person to land 78 important and significant locations in 5 years. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
It's but Master Yun has done it. So what he is actually exemplifying, it's also pretty much like a Meiji period, the Renaissance of feng shui arts. I was just moving this and I found that it was quite fun that people might be peeping over from the back to see what's going on.
But what I really adore is that the silver squares slowly, considering over 140, 150, has faded away. And if you see this as to me, that is almost like a bamboo.
Here.
When you look at the way it's peeled off,
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
a line which represents almost like a bamboo,
Absolutely.
resilience, looking at the sky, having the roots very deep in the soil, getting the winds to hit but never to break.
Yes, wonderful.
Isn't this representative of the art of Master Yun?
This would be, if we manage to travel back time, this might be what we see
Yeah.
in a living room or a room that entertains guests. Along with, in the front, we have the teapot, we have the whole tea set. At the back, people, they might want to take off their gown or what, a divider, etc. And we will have this bill over there.
Yes.
Wonderful. Right. Perhaps I should go to the back and change out the gown then, yeah. Because by the way that you hang this, is this a kimono as well?
We have spoken about the most beautiful kimono tonight you are wearing. This is amazing, 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 amazing.
Because the way that you hang it makes me feel that, this is
Okay,
a place that people are going to change their clothes, yeah.
Okay, can I tell you? Yes. People used to go to the back and change rapidly. This is a jacket. Can I just show it to you?
Sure.
This is called aori, and it's a silk, 100% silk jacket. Is for a lady.
Okay.
Okay. And what is interesting, and the reason why it's here, to give you some background about some of the technique used by the Japanese when creating their panels of textile.
Right.
In this particular instance, the technique is called shibori.
Shibori.
Shibori. And
Shibori.
this means that, and when you come and you take a look at it, you will see that it's not plain silk. The silk is actually raised. So there's a technique that pushes every single little point like a pyramid
Right.
outward. So very, very beautiful, very simple. Look at the colors of the lining inside. And this would be something that a lady would wear. But even nowadays, any lady would be able to wear something like this in a contemporary fashion.
It's just a bit of
Blue jeans.
extra advertisement here. This kimono or this jacket, redone from vintage fabric, comes from Mr. Pino's main endeavor. DJ threads, am I right? Am I correct?
DGA threads,
DGA
correct.
threads,
This is my little passion, I have to say.
Yeah, and actually, when we have the time, we will explain that actually that's how Master Yun got to know Mr. Pino as well through DJ threads. I'm going to talk about this DJ threads shortly, but actually this came from Mr. Pino's enterprise. And we're going to do something with this kimono and the one that I'm wearing. By the end of the show, I'll let you know. By then, Gibson will be back in Penang already. Yeah. So we people in Singapore get to enjoy what's going on about this. So we have the bill here. We have the cast iron teapot, which is, I tell you, if you come here and you leave this, don't underestimate the weight. It's really quite heavy.
Heavy. It's a heavy.
And now it's without water. Imagine that it's full of water.
Yes.
And hot water.
And hot water.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, if you know the art of tea making and everything must be graceful and all, you have to hold such a heavy cast iron teapot full of hot water, and then you have to be graceful about it. I tell you, that is another level of art and skill.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But when I look at the rings you're wearing, Mr. Khan,
Yes.
what is so beautiful about them? It's not only the way they've been crafted, not only about the design, it's about the weight.
True, yes.
I have seen you sometime taking them off,
Yeah.
I
Very
have
observant,
taken
yeah.
them up and just felt them in my hands, and the beauty stands
Absolutely.
in the wonderful proportion of the size and the weight.
Yes.
This is exactly the same.
Absolutely.
There's a rule, there's a regulation and rules that things like no, cannot work in this kind of for this kind of object.
You know, in our whole museum in Lotus series, Gibson might not know about this, that for the past 50 episodes, I have been sort of like complaining in the sense that, oh my God, our predecessors, the ancients, why do they have to do everything that is so heavy? My goodness. And we come to a conclusion is that in the past, people actually had the idea that when they do something significant, it's supposed to build to last.
Yes.
They think that it's going to be there for eons, you know, so they're not going to be flimsy about it. They'll have the sandstone, they'll have cast iron, they'll have this and that. So every time we move a sculpture, it will take about 4 to 5 men to actually move it. Even the one that is of bronze, that one that you are still pasting the gold, gilding the gold on it, it took 4 to 5 men to actually move it an inch. That was something. And the 2 disciples.
And the disciples.
We have not talked about that in extension
We have
yet.
not mentioned about the disciples, and sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we're gonna cover that.
we-
And actually,
we
you know,
have
the
to.
sofa you're sitting as well. We have not covered this yet. We have so many things to cover. But let's keep to Japan today. So we have the teapot, we have the pingfeng, the biu-biu. What else can we find in a vintage antique Japanese
There
living
are
room?
2 more items which really deserve a comment. In particular, I like the brazier, which
Brazier?
are
The pair.
the pair.
Let me take a look. Yeah.
Yes. These are called ibachi.
This is hibachi. We
This
talked
is
about hibachi
hibachi.
before. I will give
Yes.
Gibson one.
Ibachi.
You know, we talked about hibachi before, if I remember
Yes,
correctly.
we have, and we
it's
have
about,
shown out of the collection
Yes,
some beautiful ibachi.
you put coal or something inside.
Exactly. This is a brazier, so coal would
Right.
go inside.
Tan,
Imagine then people will get together. Beautiful about this particular brazier, ibachi, is the sapere. Magnificent is not only the shape, which is square, but even more specific is the Makassar ebony. Look
Right.
at the grain. Look at the grain. This is very thick and solid timber that comes from Makassar, and that is Indonesia.
So this is it's the same function in the sense to warm up a place. They put it in the living room. Let's say it's winter or it's autumn, so they have the coal that's heating, and then they put it at corners of the room so that it brings heat to the whole place. We see the same compartments as the other hibachis we have seen before, which is you have that you have that
copper.
the copper thing that conducts the
copper.
heat, right? And then you have the wood, which you mentioned, the one that actually would insulate itself against the heat.
Insulate itself. Now you just look at the veins of the timber. You have this blonde, you have this chestnut, and you have this black.
Right.
So imagine to what extent the Japanese went to go abroad, to select the timber, to bring the timber from remote zones, in this case, as I said, Makassar in Indonesia, and then they would have fantastic craftsmanship who would utilize the timber to make this hibachi. Look at the sides. The side has a silver, sort of a cloud-like opening in order to hold perfectly the hibachi and to move it.
It's perfect. You know, I mean, they have this thing and then it's placed in the room, but even the usage and the artistic usage of it, it's so arty. You know, it's functional at the same time. It's arty.
And beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
First time I'm seeing a square one.
Very rare to find, but the rarest part stands with the timber, in my opinion. Very, very beautiful.
What might be the age to this pair?
Again, we're talking about late Meiji.
Late Meiji.
I would say late Meiji, but
100 years, plus minus.
Yes, I would still stay in the Meiji, in perfect condition. Again, collector's item, I would say. And I wish it was a little bit colder, Singapore, so that we would have charcoal tonight here.
Yeah.
And we would just warm up our hands and enjoy it.
Do you think that it might? I'm just guessing that would it have been, let's say, that's cold and it's hot here, and probably there's a layer there, and then they might put the cast iron teapot on top of it to heat it up.
And why not?
So
Absolutely.
actually, this whole thing might have been in a living room. The whole set might have been there. That might have been used to actually warm up the room. This would have been used up to warm up, to keep warm the water. Probably.
Yeah. Possibly. I mean, who can exclude this? So Makassar ebony wood.
Right.
Ebony is generally very difficult to find, and again, beautiful detailing, beautiful workmanship. So this is another piece, another of the collection. But let me tell you something that really excites me for many reasons, is what you see here, and this is
this thing right in front of us.
We're
this
talking
mega
about
thing, yeah.
We're talking about O-Itsu.
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 I'm just gonna let people take a guess of what's going on. I mean, we can see the characteristic of this thing. It's red, it's huge, it's round. You see, now then we have a better look. It's extremely big. I just want to show how big it is that, this is my hand. So you see, it will take up the whole of my hand. It's going to be wider than this. Let me ask Gypsum, what do you think this is used for?
I saw the mini version one for the sushi, so I guess it's for the rice.
You're absolutely
So what
right.
we often see, I think they might still be using something like that nowadays, but the mini version,
Yes.
right, for the rice, I
Yes.
think. So this is actually a mega version.
Mega version.
A mega version. It's
Huge.
huge. I mean, you saw that. I put my hand there. It's still, it's definitely going to be wider there. I think it's actually what would be the diameter of this thing?
Okay, the diameter here, we've just measured up tonight. It's 84 cm.
That's about half a person's height. Yeah.
84, but then if you take the measurements, it's 240 cm
In circumference.
in circumference.
The exterior is about 240 cm. That means
cm.
about 2 meters in all. And this was used to make
Sushi.
sushi.
So you just imagine, this is a rice bucket. In the old days, they used to make out from clay pots rice, but after the rice was cooked, it had to be taken out immediately. Had the rice stayed on the stove or on the fire, it would have dried up immediately, and you would have lost that beautiful characteristic. So what it happens, imagine in this enormous house, they would have made the rice and they would have placed the rice in this container. Container, which was a specific order, very difficult to find, and this is cypress wood.
Cypress wood.
Cypress wood, thick cypress wood, and the beauty stands in the fact that the craftsman who was specialized in this basically curved with the technique of the steam the wood.
I see. So I would think it will come natural to us that, or maybe, when we look at the hibachi,
Yes.
that is all full squarish, that makes sense because that's how wood is. But when you see that it's curved and in such a perfect circle, deliberate action was taken to make the wood into this shape. And
Yes.
it's not easy, and you mentioned that actually they steam the wood, they bathe the wood so that it's softer but not too soft until they can morph it into this, and no leakages.
No leakages.
We have recently tested it in the sense that actually Master Yun used this to actually part of his painting process. So there were no leakages at all, and we can imagine that how much rice this entire, what do you call this again? Yeah.
This is called the oitsu.
The oitsu, how much rice that actually it contained. And we just have to imagine back in the days, who were they trying to feed? How many people is actually here? I don't even think that a restaurant needs such a big
No, definitely not.
oitsu,
No.
right?
So this was a special order. Imagine when the wood, and I mentioned the cypress wood, seasoned, and it must have been seasoned for at least 20 years, and then it was curved by a master.
Right.
After that, it was sand polished, and at least 15 to 20 consecutive layers of lacquer would have been applied. The color of this lacquer is incredibly beautiful, incredibly beautiful. And it has, as I was examining, the Negoro effect. The Negoro effect is something that we've spoken about with other artifacts, in particular the Burmese Sunuk, which had which had that Negoro effect, which is the black coming out from the red, which we also see here.
You can see
This
a
is
bit of
not
that,
Meiji period. This is Showa period.
after Meiji then.
It's first there's Taisho and then the Showa period.
Right.
So we're talking about at least 60 to 70 good years. Amazing. You just look at the flag of Japan. What does it have? It has a white background, and then it has
One big
the
red circle.
the red.
Sun.
It's the sun, the rising sun.
Right.
Look at this. We have here in the collection of Master Yun tonight this beautiful, amazing rising sun. May in your houses the sun rise every day and bring you prosperity, good luck, and good health.
Without having the amount of the plenty of rice that is
Yes.
supposed to be in it, it's really extremely heavy. I can only think of a few places that might actually come to use such a big
Oitsu.
oitsu. I can only think of a few places. It might have been where institutions where large quantity of people gather, maybe like a temple or a school or some kind of a place that people have to, a lot of people will be gathering, or maybe somehow there was this huge family that might have used this, because I don't even think restaurants will be using this, really. It's impossible. So this thing, if you think back in time about 60, 70 years ago, who did it feed? How many people actually benefited from this? Who might be drinking from the tea, from this cast iron teapot? Who might be changing behind this bilbil? This questions actually, they really bring you back to the
But
scene.
what we have in common, may I just say, something that's extraordinary. The eye of Master Yun is extraordinary. And it's
Right.
reflected, in my opinion, in every single piece that I've had the honor to present you.
Yes, absolutely.
Variety, beauty, elegance, prosperity in their own right, each and every single piece.
Right. So, these are the artifacts from Japan, because it's a Japan tour. There's one thing that I'm interested in. I want to have Mr. Pino talk about it a little bit more. Is that piece of kimono right behind Mr. Gibson?
Yeah.
Am I right? That's a kimono, all right.
This is a...
Can we take a look at that? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is technically... Okay, let me just ask Mr. Gibson...
To wear?
To,
No?
no.
It's his last day in Singapore. You can tell him to do anything. He's flying back tomorrow.
No. Out of respect, I would never ask. But let me just show you what is splendid. This is called technically a furisode.
Furisode.
And the furisode means that this is the garment a young girl would be wearing.
Okay,
A
not
young
Gibson
girl
then, yeah.
ready to get married. And this could
Right.
even be the wedding gown. Now, look at the beauty. It has a purple background, exquisite silk, the best you can possibly find. As in Mr. Khan kimono, everything is stitched by hand.
So
We see the painted part in gold.
the young bride might be wearing this, and
Yes.
the
Yes.
grooms might be wearing something like that.
Can I say this? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, not this color
No,
then, yeah.
but you see, I mentioned earlier about the signature, and this is the signature.
Also,
Oh,
yeah?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
The spot.
So
Yes.
look at the quality. And as you can see, okay, this is 5 petals. This is the ume. And this basically is the plum blossom.
Right.
Plum blossom signifying the first flower that blooms after winter.
Right, so it's a signifier of spring then. Yeah.
Spring coming.
Can we take a look at it the other way? So,
The
so
other
this is
way
the
around.
back. So the lady would be wearing it.
Okay, let me
let's flip it
just-
around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She'll be wearing it like that, right? Right, I see. Wow, the sleeves are long. This is actually absolutely like the kimono that we talked about. Yeah.
And the sleeves represents the wing of the butterfly.
Right, right, right.
And a lady of a certain age would not be able to wear something like this. It's just meant for a young, beautiful lady getting married for the big day.
So once again, this is actually from your passion project. This is actually from DGA Threads, am I right?
Can I say yes, it is. Unfortunately, I got involved. I say unfortunately because I've become obsessed about textiles.
So-
as an Italian, I think we inherit the sense of beauty and the quality,
Right.
and Japan has it all.
Yes, absolutely. So why are we bringing out all these kimonos, and why am I wearing like this today? We say that we are flying to Japan today. We know the influence of Japan culture in Master Yun's art and vice versa. And Master Yun has actually gotten awards from the Imperial Highness from Japan. So to celebrate all this and 50th episode anyway, and Master Yun's 50th birthday, we're going to have a Japan week.
Yes.
What do I mean by that is that we're going to keep some of the key Japanese items. We're going to decorate this place into more of a Japanese setting with the biu-biu, and probably we'll move the tanzi over here. So the whole thing looks pretty Japanese living room style.
Yes.
And we're going to shelf all these kimonos, that as well, this as well. So gentlemen, you have something to wear, lady has something to wear, and we prepare fans for you, like those Japanese fan stuff. You can come by this weekend, and we will see how the response is, and maybe next weekend, it depends. You can come by, you can wear these kimonos, ladies and gentlemen, both possible. Pose yourself with these beautiful Japanese artifacts from the Meiji period and beyond, and take a photo with it. We will have professional photographers here to stand by, and then you take a photo of it. Yeah.
Would you mind if I just add few more kimonos so that people can have a little bit of fun?
From DJ Threads. So Mr. Pino is going to bring more kimonos, ladies and gentlemen, for both.
Yes, for both.
So Mr. Pino has said that he's going to bring more kimonos from DJ Threads to support this fun activity, this Japan week. So this weekend, come by. I'm going to sort out, are we going to do it on Saturday and Sunday or what? It depends. Yeah, I'm going to announce it on Facebook, so pay attention. We will set up the whole place to be more Japan style. You can see it, you can stand, I don't know, but you know, it's free of charge. You get to.
And your idea is that Lotus of Want wants you all to have fun.
Yes, yes. Sometimes when we look at Master Yun's art, the key is that if you look at his art deep enough, you'll be transported to somewhere else.
Yes.
As you mentioned, when the lights are off, it's no longer just an art exhibition or a fashion show. It's an experience. It's an experience that I would like to say that it's a transformation. You are being transformed into a celestial plane with all the stars and the galaxy. Same. What we are today and what we can see, sometimes we are restricted by what we can feel, but maybe we can transcend cultures. Maybe we can transcend times. Maybe we can transcend boundaries and borders that we so perceive so. And this experience of trying to be Japanese for 1 week, it's going to be quite something, right? And not just any random artifacts, not just any random kimonos. Kimonos that are specially created by Mr. Pino and his passion project, DJ Threads. And of course, the many artifacts that we have mentioned in many different episodes, Meiji period, 19th century, and so on. The photo that you take this weekend would be extraordinary. And for once, put yourself in the shoe and think, maybe I also belong to experience yourself being part of the Meiji period, the period of prosperity and intense progress and breakthrough. Am I right?
I think you're absolutely right.
So there we have an activity for everyone. Not everyone could be at Master Yun's birthday party. Not everyone could squeeze in the Chimes Hall, but you get to enjoy the extension of Master Yun's refined living, transformation of life, and experience something that's out of your boundary for once.
Yes.
Right? So there we have it. I'm going to put more announcement on Facebook about how this Japan week will go about. Oh yeah. There we have it. Yeah, you see. Actually, even this is Japanese. Even though
Of
this
course
is
it's
very
Japanese. This is for a soup.
Yeah, this is for soup. For clam soup, yeah. Or miso soup, yeah.
Miso.
So there we have. This is the question from the previous episode that we had. Before Chimes, we're going to ask a question. You're going to put the answers into the comments. The correct ones will actually get a chance to win the wonderful champagne glasses that's made in Italy.
Yes.
For Laurent Perret, yeah, the
Yes,
Laurent Perret logo over there. I know that a lot of you are actually getting a lot of these glasses and you're giving around them to your friends and so on, which is wonderful. And share the joy. Share the wonderful joy. Yeah, you don't have to drink champagne glasses or plastic glasses. You can do it with this very atas, very high-end, very exquisite Laurent Perret champagne glasses made in Italy.
Very good.
Yeah, we talked about Italy glasses before.
Yes, we have.
They are wonderful, yeah.
We have shown some beautiful
What's the name again? It starts with M, yeah.
Murano.
Murano, you see?
This is Murano.
Yeah. Murano
and
glass.
there's in the collection a beautiful vase by Flavio Poli. Extremely beautiful, extremely heavy, extremely thick in that amber color that only the Venetian were able.
I'm going to miss all this art beyond, all this museum in Lotus episodes. So many things to learn from all over the world. Really, yeah.
Yes.
And you find it all in connection with Master Yun's art, so that's really something. Okay, let's ask a question. It's a simple question. We keep on talking about this number today, that this is the number what episode because it resonates with Master Yun's birthday. So actually I'm asking you, this year, what's Master Yun's birthday? How old is he this year? Coincidentally, this is the exact number of episodes we are doing it for
Absolutely.
Lotus.
And don't say 15 because you would be wrong.
That'd be nice, but you'll be absolutely wrong, yeah. So what is Master Yun's birthday this year? That will also explain which episode we are and the grandness of the so many artifacts that we brought to you today, the massive things that we have. This can feed more than 50 people.
Yes.
100%.
And maybe on Sunday we can have some sushis.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll get that prepared, yeah. You don't have to order from Fuketa anymore, yeah. Okay, let's have the guests choose.
You choose.
You choose,
Just
yeah.
one each, please.
Oh,
Okay.
one each, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Pino, I will choose one. Let's see, who do we have? Gibson, who do we have? Vic Key. Okay,
Mr. Key.
we have Mr. Key, Vic Key, there we have number one, and oh wow, my God, the daughter, Claire Key.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
This is going to be the wife? No. Oh, this Chinese name, Wu Sui Yuan. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So 3, Vic Key, Claire Key, and Sui Yuan. Congratulations on getting not the Murano glass, but the, what do you call it? The
Italian Trieste.
champagne glass. Right. So remember this weekend, we're going to have a wonderful and fun Japan week. You get to come here, wear kimonos, both ladies and gentlemen, proudly supported by Mr. Pino's project, DJ Threads. We will talk about his company and DJ Threads in the time to come because I think we're going to have something exciting in December,
Yes,
right?
we will. We
We're
will.
going to have something exciting in December. So stay tuned. But before that, this weekend, come by the gallery, experience, try to transform yourself out of Singapore and into a different culture, into a period where prosperity and breakthroughs were just the way to go. And I'll see you next week for the next episode of Museum in Lotus. Cheers.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.